With the multitude of military weapons, armaments, equipment, and vehicles on the market, you may think that what's available out there is top-of-the-line machinery combined with the most advanced technology. Well, think again. You'd be surprised by how many old and outdated military weapons and vehicles are still used on the battlefield today. Because of their intense and heavily detailed process of design and production, these weapons and vehicles take years, maybe even decades, to be replaced by newer models. To ensure that these newer models are refreshed every once in a while to keep up with current events and competition, the Army would often hold competitions between different design teams to select the best design at the best manufacturing cost. This is exactly the situation with the U.S. Army's program to replace the classical tank, the M2 Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle. The Optionally Manned Fighting Vehicle, or OMFV, is a program that has been planned since 2016 that has recently been regaining traction due to a rebooted program that plans to effectively replace the M2 Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle from operational use in the battlefield. You might be asking, if it was originally intended to have started in 2016, shouldn't there be some progress by now? In today's video, we'll take a closer look at the Optionally Manned Fighting Vehicle, why the original 2016 plans fell through, and how the 2021 rebooted program plans are cementing the design and production of the M2 Bradley's new successor. If you enjoy content like these, go ahead and like and subscribe to this video, as I appreciate all of your support. Let's get started. History and development, the original competition. The original replacement and successor of the M2 Bradley tank was initially decided in 2009 under the Ground Combat Vehicle (GCV) program. By 2011, General Dynamics and BAE Systems Land and Armaments were awarded $439.7 million and $49.9 million respectively for their development contracts. However, a year later, the U.S. Army announced that $150 million were to be cut from the budget of this program due to budgetary concerns brought by the war in Afghanistan. This hindered the design and production of BAE Systems and General Dynamics. Eventually, to continue the progress made despite budget cuts, in January 2013, a revision was set in place. This revision entailed risk reduction and affordability for the program by extending the technology development phase by 6 months to give more time to refine the vehicle design. However, in April 2013, the Congressional Budget Office issued a report questioning the program's budget, specifically questioning the $28 billion estimated cost in producing these ground combat vehicle units between 2014 to 2030. In July of the same year, Army Chief of Staff General Ray Odierno warned that the ground combat vehicle program might be delayed or possibly even canceled because of the sequestration of budget cuts. Soon enough, just the year after, the GCV program was effectively canceled. Government engineer under the Biden administration, Heidi Shyu, said that the criticism of the program was unfortunate and canceling the program had nothing to do with its performance. In fact, Shyu also claimed that the program thus far was doing remarkably well with little to no issues. The canceling of the project was due to unfortunate timing of the world's events that needed prioritization. All hope was not lost. However, not all hope was lost. In August of 2014, General Dynamics Land Systems and BAE British Aerospace Systems Land and Armaments secured $7.9 million to develop a successor for the ground program vehicle that was projected for a 2021 release. The following year, in 2015, the companies were further provided $28 million to boost the development of the vehicle. But later that year, in August 2015, the U.S. Army delayed the 2021 release to 2029, stating that, yet again, budget shortages was an issue in production. In 2018, the U.S. Army established the Next Generation Combat Vehicle (NGCV) program to replace the M2 Bradley. In late 2022, this program was then renamed to the Optionally Manned Fighting Vehicle (OMFV). However, this isn't the OMFV we know today yet. OMFV Original Plans. This OMFV plan originally had several candidates competing to design the next vehicle. The last two competitors were a joint venture between Raytheon and Rheinmetall and General Dynamics Land Systems. The Raytheon Rheinmetall prototype was disqualified from the competition as it failed to meet the deadline set by the U.S. Army. General Dynamics Land Systems entry also did not qualify as their prototype was deemed too heavy to meet the necessary requirements. Eventually, this original OMFV plan was scrapped due to the very hasty pacing and difficulty to meet program objectives. This caused many participants, both developers and contractors, to stay away from the project in fear of not meeting the requirements in the short window of time. The U.S. Army acknowledged this fault in their programming, and in 2020, they announced to reboot the program with more responsibility for funding. The OMFV and the rebooted program. The OMFV is the third attempt of the U.S. Army in replacing the M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicle, which has been on the battlefield since the 1980s. The U.S. Army deems the M2 Bradley to have reached the end of its life cycle as it can no longer host upgrades essential to make it effective and viable on the battlefield. In July 2021, the U.S. Army rebooted the OMFV program and awarded contracts to 5 teams: Point Blank Enterprises, Oshkosh Defense, BAE Systems, General Dynamics Land Systems, and American Rheinmetall Vehicles. All in all, the value of these contracts totaled to $299.4 million. The teams are currently on a 15-month-long phase where they will develop concept designs for the vehicle that will replace the M2 Bradley. As of this moment, the teams have 3 more months to finalize their concept designs for the vehicle before the U.S. Army chooses their desired design. Why the M2 Bradley is headed to sleep. While it has received tons of upgrades throughout its life since the 1980s, the M2 Bradley is reportedly reaching the technological limits of its ability to host new electronics, armors, and defense systems. To give an example, in one of its expeditions, the M2 Bradley had to sacrifice the use of its electronic systems to power its anti-roadside bomb jammers as the vehicle was already chugging its power supply. Additionally, it has been increasingly difficult to mount the M2 Bradley with newer protection systems, such as the active protection systems that shield it from anti-tank rockets and missile strikes. This means that the M2 Bradley units are not resistant to fairly common anti-tank ammunition that is present on many enemy troops today. Another reason why the M2 Bradley has to retire is its limited capacity. It can only hold 6 people. While this might not seem to be a problem at first, infantry squads are almost always grouped in 9. Because of the M2's limited capacity, squads are divided and separated when they are in these vehicles, limiting their command and control over existing tactics. OMFV requirements. Despite the freedom given to the teams contracted by the U.S. Army to design for the OMFV, there are essential requirements the OMFV must meet. The most pressing requirements the OMFV must have are the following: optionally manned capacity transportability, dense urban terrain operations and mobility, protection, growth, lethality, embedded platform training, and sustainability. The first requirement is for the vehicle to be optionally manned. The namesake of the vehicle is its primary requirement, as the Army wishes for the vehicle to have the ability to be conducted remotely, even when the crew is off-platform. As mentioned, capacity is one of the major reasons why the M2 Bradley had to retire. The new vehicle should be operable by 2 crewmen, but can carry at least 6 soldiers. The reason why General Dynamics Land Systems prototype was disqualified before was because of the U.S. Army's third requirement: transportability. 2 OMFV units must be transportable in one CO-17 and must be combat ready within 15 minutes. The OMFV unit must also have the ability to super elevate weapons and engage threats using guns and other independent weapon systems. While not required to have it on the initial stage of production, the U.S. Army also emphasizes the need for the unit to have the capacity to accommodate reactive armor and active protection systems (APS) in the future. The OMFV unit must also possess sufficient size, weight, architecture, power, and cooling for automotive and electrical purposes to meet all platform needs and allow for pre-planned product improvements. The U.S. Army also cites that the unit must have immediate, precise, and decisively lethal extended-range medium caliber, directed energy, and missile that can fire at any time of the day and in any weather condition, regardless if the vehicle is moving or stationary. Lastly, the U.S. Army requires the OMFV unit to have embedded training systems that have interoperability with the synthetic training environment and that the unit demonstrate innovations that achieve breakthroughs in power generation and management to obtain increased operational range and fuel efficiency, increased silent watch, part and component reliability, and significantly reduced sustainment burden. Currently, the OMFV plan is still in its infancy and in its initial phase. 5 teams have been tapped to design the concept design of the OMFV unit, but in 3 months, this will be narrowed down to 3 teams that will go through the 3rd and 4th phase, which are the detailed design phase and the prototype building and testing phase. These next phases are set to last until the 2nd quarter of the fiscal year of 2023. The final product of this plan will not see the light until several years more, so it can be hard to tell where the direction of this project is going. However, all we can wish is that no more interruptions and problems can come between the realization of this project. Do you think it's finally time to retire the M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicle? Are you hopeful that this time we will finally get to see the product of the OMFV plan? What are your hopes that the OMFV vehicle will have in terms of its specifications and features? Let me know your thoughts on these questions in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like these. Until next time.